and welcome to the Christchurch Fox Chapel podcast. It's the fastest growing, conservative, evangelical, charismatic, prohibitory podcast in the entire Fox Chapel area. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Alex. Here we are.
Prohibitory.
I feel like, so we're in Ezra 5, and I feel like it's a little bit of, I feel like we've been here before. Specifically in chapter 4.
But he's warmed to his theme, hasn't he?
So, yeah. But it's great. If we were to give a summary of what's going on in less than a minute, what would we say?
People have got returned from exile in Babylon and Persia abroad, back to the promised land. They found ruins. They've started rebuilding the temple. The temple is definitely idiomatic of their relationship with God. It's the locus of their revival.
Yeah.
As soon as they start rebuilding the temple, they meet resistance of various kinds, including a bunch of dirty tricks from the people of the land. And the people of the land are appealing to kings. Ezra jumps out of time, and so we find ourselves jumping forward in time and then backward again to show that this petitioning of kings happened a lot under various different reigns. And we're in an example of one of those petitions now where they get the king to try and stop the rebuilding project in its tracks.
Oh, that was really good. And there's these themes going on throughout Ezra that there's of resistance, and basically God is sovereign over his enemies.
Yes.
He's faithful to his own.
And revival is on the way.
And
that's one set of themes. The other would be that
crisis
precedes
revival, which precedes resistance, which precedes
the reignition
of your faith.
Yes, that's right. It's memorable.
Yeah, sorry that I insisted on all those R's. I can't help it.
We've imposed it a bit, but I think it works. I think it works because it matches what they're going through in their experience back then, roughly 500 years before the birth of Christ.
Yeah.
It's really similar to what we've seen in the great revivals of the 18th, 19th, 20th centuries. And it's really similar to what a lot of us have experienced for ourselves, that it was some kind of personal crisis that led us to Christ.
Yeah.
And/or when we really came to faith, that did meet with some resistance of some kind.
Well, because, I mean, the Bible's very clear, and any Christian who's been around for any amount of time will tell you that we are in a cosmic war.
Yeah.
And there are spiritual forces of evil that are manipulating events. And so anytime that you follow God, you will be confronted with resistance.
Yeah.
Paul says, all who desire to live a godly life in Christ Jesus will be persecuted. So what we have going on here in chapter 5, you have Zerubbabel and the people have come into the land. They've laid the foundation of the temple.
And Zerubbabel is also known in Persian as Sheshbazzar.
Sheshbazzar.
Same person.
That's one of the confusing things. This is it's like a Dostoevsky novel. Everybody has like two names.
I worked for a loss adjusting firm where everybody had two names.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So everybody had their own actual name, but there was like an office name. It was just an office joke.
Oh, really?
So there was this one guy in the office. His humor was that he just gave the wrong name to everybody. He found calling people the wrong name very funny. And the joke stuck. So we started off as like a firm of 30 people where everybody had an office name that wasn't their real name. But then the firm grew to about 60 or 70 people. And then if you were new and you joined the firm, you had to memorize all these wrong names as well as the right ones. And part of the joke was that every other person had to be called John. So there were like 30 Johns, but then there were also some people who were called John.
Oh, that's so, like their actual name was John.
Was John, yeah.
Oh, that's very confusing.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of have two names, right?
Yeah, I do. I have a family name, which we don't need to go into.
Yeah, we won't share your family name.
Yep.
It may or may not start with an X.
It doesn't.
That's why I said may or may not.
Oh, okay. Well, they were giving it away. It's definitely an X.
Yeah, and then you go by Alex.
Here. Yeah. Okay, so Sheshbazzar is Zerubbabel,
and so they've met some resistance, and now they are heading into now they're heading into even more resistance, and they're starting to resist the resistance because the prophets Haggai and Zechariah prophesied and said, keep building the temple.
Keep it up. You're going to be good.
And so the leaders then come alongside the people, and they get roll up their sleeves and get down in the trenches.
And that's definitely a feature, I think, of Ezra and Nehemiah, its sister book about later on in this period, that you do see leaders often, in this case, building the temple themselves, but in Nehemiah, building the walls. You find the godly leadership rolling up their sleeves and getting stuck in.
Yeah.
Which is significant. If Zerubbabel is a precursor of Jesus in some way, then it's significant to see that the leader or the godly leader is someone who serves.
Mm-hmm. And that's commensurate with everything that Paul says in the New Testament about the way that leaders should be.
So, Ben, Darius is the king on the throne at this point. He's the Persian king.
It's like around 520 BC.
Okay.
They've been in the land for about 20 years.
And before Darius was Cyrus?
Cyrus.
And Cyrus sent them home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, he sent them home. And so these two guys, Tattenai, the governor of the province beyond the river.
We came across him last week, I think.
Yeah, province beyond the river is like sort of the area, what would I say? It's like everywhere between southern Israel and like Syria, Lebanon in the north,
right,
and sort of Iraq, that kind of area, I think.
Everything. Okay. So it's a large province of the Persian Empire.
Yeah. Maybe I might be wrong about Iraq, but it's like around the area, greater Israel area. And so they came up, Tattenai and Shethar-Bozenai, and their associates came to them and spoke to them, which you said, that's them's fighting words. Like that means they're fighting.
Yeah.
They're about to attack. And they said, who gave you a decree? Question 1. And 2, what are the names? Mm-hmm. We're making a list. And so they take that list and they write a letter of inquiry to King Darius. Right. And if you've been reading through Ezra, you're going to recognize this.
Okay, so they sent him a report in which was written as follows: to Darius the king, all peace. I mean, I know this is just the kind of flowery language of the day.
Yeah, it's just
but to me, it always feels a bit ironic.
And then the same thing: be it known to the king that we here it is. We're jumping into it. We went to the province of Judah, to the house of the Jews. To the house of the great God.
Yeah, it's intriguing, isn't it?
I heard Darius had a policy of acknowledging local deities.
Yeah.
It's one of the ways so it wasn't a problem for him to, in his book, to say that in front of these people. So they call Yahweh the great God.
Yeah.
It is being built.
That doesn't mean they recognize that God is great. It's just that's just the important deity there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's being built with huge stones and timber is laid in the walls.
Oh, it's huge. Like, is there already some panic being injected into this? The stones are huge. I don't know. Implying what? Fortified? Impressive?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why say huge?
Well, okay. Derek Kidner and other scholars have noted that this letter is not as aggressive as the other letter that was written actually later on to Artaxerxes.
Yes. The one that we've already looked at.
I just have to note that who's gotten to preach both of the letters. The last 2 times I've preached have been the letters of
the bad guys. I'm not
complaining. The bad guys.
You chose it
to God's people.
You chose it.
Yeah, it's true. I did choose it.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's just like your typecast. You're better at being a bad guy.
Am I? That's actually kind of cool. So they say timber's laid in the walls, so expensive materials. This work goes on diligently and prospers in their hands.
This is a money thing. You think this is a money point they're making?
I don't know.
Look at the money they're wasting on this thing. Huge stones, expensive timber.
Huh?
I don't know.
I don't know because it.
Why does it matter though? Why do they need to tell a king that it's got big stones and lots of timber and all that? Why does it matter?
So it's clearly in the text. I think commentators have said this is a less aggressive letter, But they did the whole, they came to them and spoke to them thing.
That was aggressive.
Back in chapter 5, verse 3.
Yes.
So
they've already shown their hand. These are not nice people.
Yeah, I think. But yet this is much more muted.
Okay.
So clearly there's some kind of like sense of they're building in an authoritative and permanent way. And then verse 9, we asked those elders and spoke to them thus, who gave you a decree to build this house and finish this structure?
That's true. They did ask that question.
Yeah.
I think it's a verbatim. That's what they asked.
By what authority do you do this, basically? We also asked their names. They did that. For your information, that we might write down the names of their leaders. That's interesting because they asked for the names of the builders as well.
Yeah.
And this was their reply to us. Quote, oh, and by the way, this is, scholars think that this is just like actually the verbatim letter. This is not a summary of the letter. This is the letter.
This is the letter.
So whoever compiled this book, be it Ezra or the chronicler, was very meticulous.
Had access to the original materials. And is being meticulous.
Very meticulous. And,
yeah.
This
is written in Aramaic, so that checks.
And this is in a culture in which records really mattered.
Evidently.
And look at the scriptures are preserving very accurate records. And so this was their reply to us. This is what the people of God say when they're asked. They say, we are servants of the God of heaven and earth. God of heaven, Darius claimed to worship the God of heaven.
Yes.
And had a different name. I forget what the name that Darius had for it, but has
the God of the heavens. That was the question, right?
Yeah.
Really early on in this book. Was it Darius or was it Cyrus? One of them called him the God of the heavens, the God of the heaven.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's right. I'll just edit this bit. We
can get back to it.
We'll find it.
We'll find it?
Yeah.
All right, let's pause it.
So it would be, well, first of all, chapter 1, verse 2, Cyrus, king of Persia, writes, he says, the Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth. So it does sound a bit like that.
Yeah, and they add here, this is the God of heaven and earth, like quote, likely to underscore Yahweh's sovereignty. This is a scholar in the Gospel Coalition's online commentary. They could also be employing this particular name for God because the moniker was one used of the Persian god Ahura Mazda.
I like a Mazda.
Spelled exactly like Mazda, like
really?
The car. Yeah.
Or presumably it's named after it.
Yeah. That's interesting. They're claiming to be a ubiquitous car, just like Ahura Mazda was the ubiquitous god of the Persians. I don't know. It's probably a Japanese name.
Yeah, and I'm imagining that god has a notoriously difficult user interface and technology system.
Well, clearly he did.
Really nice leather.
They can't really recognize who he is.
Slow infotainment system.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on.
So they are saying we are the servants of the true God. We're servants of your God. And so that's by what authority do you do this under? We do it under the authority of the God who you serve. So our authority comes from above you. And we are rebuilding the house that was built many years ago, which a great king of Israel built and finished. But
all true.
And this is what I find fascinating right here. I think this might be the logos where the sermon is. But because our fathers had angered the God of heaven, he gave them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, the Chaldean, who destroyed this house and carried away the people to Babylonia. However, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Babylon, Cyrus the king made a decree that this house of God should be rebuilt. And the gold and silver vessels of the house of God, which Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple that was in Jerusalem and brought to the temple in Babylon, these Cyrus the king took out of the temple of Babylon, and they were delivered to one whose name was Sheshbazzar. Remember, that's Zerubbabel, whom he had made governor.
So the king made him governor. The king sent them home. The king gave them the vessels. The king authorized all of this work. King Cyrus, that would be.
But they have what fascinates me here is that when they're asked to give an account of themselves, they do not hide their sins before God.
Right.
What they give is a testimony. So they simultaneously have incredible authority behind their project
And
great humility. Like they're saying, because think about this. This is the Persian king, and he's involved in power games, and so from a certain perspective, you could say, what would the Babylonians say? Well,
we're building it because we're awesome, we're strong, we're powerful. You can't stop us.
Yeah,
no one ever stands in our way.
And Nebuchadnezzar took you over because his God was bigger than your God, and that's why you lost.
But the reality is, in fact, our God was bigger, and we were sent into exile because we sinned.
Yeah.
They remind me of people who've worked the 12 steps. When someone's just really honest about what they were like, and they're actually healed from it and clean now, and they've been sober for many years, and they just sort of talk about their addiction in the past tense without any kind of flim flam or gloss.
Yeah.
They just, but there's a peace about them because they're actually well.
And they're like, this is our story. Yeah. This is what we're doing. And we had this great thing that happened, and we are not, and it was because of our sins. I think that in an age, it's really easy to play victim.
Oh, very helpful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not to diminish people's pain when they are. Sometimes we are really a victim.
Yeah. I understand where you're going with that.
But internalizing yourself as a victim is very unempowering in some ways,
and it makes it difficult to redress anything you might have done wrong.
Yeah.
If everyone's always out to get you, it's really difficult to just acknowledge your own failings.
I think there's a real power when you acknowledge what's wrong, and then that's how you lean into the real authority that God gives to you.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually a remarkably profound answer. And notice, like all the temple things were carried away, but there is restoration, and so that in their own account of themselves, we sinned, we suffered the consequences we suffered judgment, and we were restored. It's a testimony,
right? And the worship of God was restored.
Yeah,
there's obviously some divine hand here, because this moving of people from place to place and the moving of things from place to place testifies to the actions of some unseen hand.
What's going on here? Are these people really seeking to be their enemies, or are they? Is this just a world that doesn't understand and is trying to figure it out?
Well, it's funny that the people who are trying to manipulate the King Darius, are at least, I think, giving a fair account of what they've heard. They might not have understood it.
Yeah.
But I believe this. I believe that this is actually, even though it's from the enemies of the people of God, I think it's actually probably what they said.
It seems like the whole focus here, whereas in the letter to Artaxerxes that I preached on 2-3 weeks ago, the real emphasis there was on God's enemies.
Yes.
And what the tactics that the enemy takes. The emphasis here seems to be on the people of God themselves and the witness that they bear to a watching world.
It's a great witness. There is defiance, isn't there? There is defiance here from the people of God.
Yeah.
But there's obedience to a higher power, God. And there is, like you say, a humble account as well. No, we did this. God is sovereign, and it's our fault. I think for the people of the land, this makes the people of God quite a formidable enemy, because how do you fight someone who's humble? How do you fight someone who says God is real and I have let God down and God has restored me and I am going to trust God?
Yeah.
How do you fight that person? You can't bribe them. You can't. They're really quite a thorn in the side, aren't they? Of Tatanai and his associates.
And I think in the times when I've found myself in opposition to other people, sometimes when I've actually taken the low place and been willing to acknowledge my own wrong, that is always the way forward.
It's very disarming.
It's very disarming. And sometimes, I mean, even in godly relationships, this is a way of kind of dealing. This is how we deal with conflict, because you have to own your own stuff, and then it's incumbent upon, and so you're reconciling with truth and righteousness, and then it's incumbent upon the other person to reconcile with truth and righteousness. And so they either do or they don't. We know in this particular case that they did, actually. They send in the decree, and Darius says, yep, found the record. Cyrus actually did say this.
Right.
So crack on. And they do. And they finish the temple around 516.
Right.
So
we do actually know.
This, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're telling the truth. The people who've got are telling the truth. They're not trying to scheme in any way. There've been a lot of schemes against them, but they're not scheming in response. That's also an interesting feature here. I mean, they've had a sustained and varied attack. I recognize we're jumping around a bit in time because these letters are sort of, they're not necessarily chronological in the way they're presented in the book. But that aside, we've seen sustained and varied attack, a variety of dirty tricks. Let's work with you. We can all be friends, and undermine it from within. Encourage bribery, threats, violence, official power at the local level and official power at the senior level. There's been a variety of dirty tricks, and then came to that language really has a confrontational element to it in at least Hebrew. So we recognize there was probably some threats of physical violence here. So, and maybe even death. So you have a variety of different attacks against the people of God.
They're in a place of weakness.
They're in a place of weakness. They're surrounded, but what they're not doing is scheming to save themselves.
Yeah.
They're actually still admitting their own humble position before the sovereign of the universe.
You know, I have a friend who was at an interview coming up, and they were asking me like to help them rehearse for the interview, and I said no. I was like, no,
get lost.
Like don't like you just tell the truth. Like just be honest and candid with these people, and if they can take that, then that might be a place you want to work.
Right.
And if they can't, then
you don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's something about when the police interview people, if the witnesses have corroborated with each other and kind of cooked their stories up.
Yeah.
It shows. Yeah. It shows. And it's lacking in conviction, I think. Belief. And
go ahead.
Well, just the sheer honesty of it.
Yeah.
They don't sugarcoat it at all. It is worth noting, though, that on a legal basis, the people of God are actually correct. They did have authority.
Yeah.
So there is that as well.
But they don't answer the question of who made a decree.
They avoid that.
They don't say anything about Cyrus in this.
Isn't that funny?
I didn't realize that. Oh wait, no, maybe they do.
Earlier in the letter.
However, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Babylon, Cyrus made a decree. They do answer that, you're right. And they talk about the gold and silver vessels.
Okay.
And they could probably point to the gold and silver vessels when Tat and I.
How do we get these back then? Yeah. Do you think we just went and robbed?
You think we're just making this up? Where did we get this stuff? Like, yeah. Okay. So they would have that.
We just broke into Marduk's temple and robbed it.
Yeah. And so they cite the authority by which they're doing this, but that's not what they lead with. They lead with God. We're servants of the God of heaven and earth.
Well, I mean, I guess in doing so, maybe this is a challenge. They're depicting Cyrus as a servant of God.
That is, I have heard that noted as a potential like Christological little seed in the Old Testament, right?
That God is sovereign over his enemies.
God is sovereign over his enemies, and and also Sheshbazzar is called a servant of God.
Oh, and that would be the Christ figure.
Zerubbabel. But yeah, Cyrus is. I mean, Isaiah calls Cyrus a servant. I don't know, somewhere in Isaiah 40.
But it's a logical deduction, isn't it? If these people sinned, the Jews sinned, they got sent to Babylon, right? Then and so therefore the king of Babylon is being depicted as someone that God can use to insert word, his own people.
Yeah.
Punish. We don't think it is a punishment as such, but can discipline his people.
Yeah.
I'm thinking from the Persian perspective. Let's
Yeah.
call it punishment. From the Persian perspective, right? So God is powerful and he sends people to Nebuchadnezzar's country. Well, that must mean that Nebuchadnezzar is also under the power of God, because otherwise why would he have invaded, taken the stuff, brought them in? And then you see that Persia defeats Babylon. So by that same token, Persia now is being described as under the sovereign authority of God. And the only explanation for Cyrus packing them off with all of the gold and silver vessels and money and all the rest of it would be if Cyrus was actually under the authority of God, and by deduction, therefore, so is Darius. So it's actually quite a very gentle thing that the people of God have said, but it does allow power to do some deductive reasoning.
So but I think that power just comes from the fact that they're just residing in the truth.
Yes, it's true.
It's just
true.
the truth.
God is sovereign,
and truth is, to many people, recognizable. It has a self-evidentiary quality. So
here you go. Look, so Cyrus king took out the temple of Babylon, and they were delivered to the one whose name was Sheshbazzar, whom he had made governor. And so there's this other thing, that Sheshbazzar's authority is, in a worldly sense, derived from the king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So point number one, right, the king is under the authority of God. But point number two, in a secular world, Sheshbazzar is under the authority of the king.
Yeah. But Sheshbazzar is under the authority of God, ultimately, because he's the leader of the people and he is the Davidic heir. so
what's going on here with these enemies, right? Are they just banking upon the king, assuming that it's all a lot of made up stuff? Because they're doing a really good job of actually sticking up for the people of God here in this letter.
I'm not, other than that single word that they came to them and spoke to them.
Yeah.
I don't have indication of as much hostility in this letter. It seems to me that there's a curiosity, an inquiry being made, but it's not as conniving as came later on. Later on, 80 years later under Artaxerxes, the resistance really ramps up. But for now, around 520 BC, I think they're trying to piece it together and trying to understand. So I don't think they're necessarily hostile. They're certainly not a net good. They're not portrayed as virtuous. They're just sort of pagan.
This bit's not as bad as the later episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're pagan, and the emphasis is on, well, how do the people of God interact with a godless world? And this is a pretty good thing. The answer, they give their testimony, and it reminds me of Paul giving his testimony before Agrippa.
Yeah.
And all of the different kings.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Jesus on trial.
Mm-hmm.
And what do? They don't get defensive. They speak truth.
Humble truth,
but authoritative truth.
Yeah.
Like I was just reading this morning in John 18 about Jesus before the high priest, and Jesus speaks the truth to him, and then the high priest's servant comes and slaps Jesus on the face and says, "You dare speak to the high priest that way?"
Yeah.
And Jesus goes, if what I said was wrong, bear witness to the wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Jesus says, like, you heard me. I haven't said anything in secret. All of my teaching has been in public. So why don't you get some witnesses and ask them?
So the open, honest vulnerability of this is important. Because if you're really, really relying on God, if you're also scheming at the same time, you're probably not relying on God.
I think we can get really caught up in scheming.
I can.
Very easily.
I love a scheme.
Yeah. But that energy, your scheming brain, sanctified, is more powerful than unsanctified. And I think if someone starts to feel artificial because they're always caught in a web of lies, of their own lies, the answer to that is to just live in the truth. Just speak the truth.
Just speak the truth.
And sometimes it's not comfortable, but speak the truth.
I think it's so important. We've seen, obviously, at quite a senior level in our denomination, a number of legal disputes and official investigations. Quite an alarming number now.
Yeah.
5 or 6 bishop investigations going on or have gone on in the last few years.
Yeah.
That's a very large number. And now 3 lawsuits between bishops. So that's also quite a large number. I think probably biblically it should be around none. And so there might be 2 lawsuits between 3 people, whatever. There's still too many. The thing that's going on there is there's this jockeying for position that's going on through the courts, but it's also being played out in parallel in public, quite honestly, on Twitter and YouTube. And so you're seeing people trying to frame and reframe narratives and box the other person in and all of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And just a humble, honest approach, which frankly our own bishop does do, is so refreshing.
Yeah.
So helpful.
He admits it when he gets something wrong.
He very openly and honestly tends to do that. His instinct is to do that. I love that. And I think that you've got something like that going on here. That the temptation would be with all of these schemes and interactions to simply to scheme back. But there's a humble admission of what they've gotten wrong, and there's a humble submission to the sovereignty of God. Brilliant.
And I think, Tim Keller's point that the people of God do not fall back into idolatry.
No.
Again, after this point, like they
learned the lesson.
This is a remnant people. This is a people who have been chastened. Now, fast forward 550 years, and they've missed the boat. They missed the boat on who God is. But there is something in this remnant group that's getting it right.
Yes, so they're not doing what all of the predecessors did, which was to set up high places to other gods and worship them.
Self-reliance. They're all in for God.
So the story continues in verse 16, I suppose, which would be, this Shesh Bazaar came and laid the foundations of the house of God that's in Jerusalem, and from that time until now, it has been in building. Oh, I see. It has been in building, and it's not yet finished. Okay, I mean, it's true.
We haven't changed course. We've just been doing. We're still fulfilling the terms of the last decree, the last imperial decree.
So that's all in quote marks. This is the quote unquote. This is the bad guys talking about quoting the people of God.
That's what the people of God said,
right?
And so then they, the people of the land, Tattenai finishes his letter. Therefore, if it seems good to the king, let search be made of the royal archives there in Babylon, to see whether a decree was issued by Cyrus, the king, for the rebuilding of this house of God in Jerusalem, and let the king send us his pleasure in this matter. So check your records. And
this reveals what great records must have been kept.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, impressive, really. That the laws would be written down in such a way and then archived in a way that's searchable is really impressive when you think about how long ago this was.
Yeah, and the archaeological evidence points to the fact that was a reality.
Yeah.
That the Persians they were a paperwork society like this, and which is remarkable because they didn't have there's no industrial paper like there is today.
We have an artifact, don't we, called Cyrus's cylinder. I say we. I don't think we have it at Christ Church Fox Chapel. I think it's in the British Museum, but it's a clay kind of thing. Looks like a toilet roll with a load of writing on the outside.
Yeah,
and it depicts his successes and prowess.
And he does say on the Cyrus cylinder that he's the king of Babylon, among other places.
So it corroborates this account quite nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's helpful to have an artifact. I mean, what's so fascinating is that all this happens at a time in history when it's possible to make and keep records.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, I think this is actually, on a separate note, really helpful to people who are questioning whether they can trust the Bible.
Yes.
Is it like, it's just a made up thing? No, it's actually true. It's truthful. It's trustworthy in and in every genre that it takes on, it maxes out the truthfulness. The truth, it speaks truth in the most truthful way in every genre.
Yes.
So whether that's apocalyptic, which we're using images, whether that's parables where you're telling stories, or poetry where you're using images to depict moods, or official records.
Yeah, the historical accounts check in terms of names of who was where, who reigned when, what they did, how they operated. This adds up as a verifiable historical document. And so we'll come to what next, won't we? We'll come to what Darius discovers next week.
Yeah.
But I do think you're right to zoom in on this key point about the admission of verse 12. I think you're right. That's probably where the preach is.
That's where I think the lessons to be learned are for me. And in repentance, the great thing is like we can repent because we have a God. God is not just a authority. God is a God of grace and mercy, who gave his own life on the cross so that we could have, so that we could stare our sin in the face and not be terrified. There's great safety and protection in admitting the truth because of and only because of the character of God. So, it's going to be fun to preach.
Well, thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Alex.
Very helpful. Well, this has been a podcast of Christ Church Fox Chapel.
Yep.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy.
But mostly, thanks for stopping by.